To manage a modern city well is a complex business, often learned by trial and error that can be costly to its citizens. Here at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles, managers run a city knowing that errors will not cost the citizenry, and that trying ideas may help them learn to make better decisions. The city is Apex, a model city contained within an IBM computer. Apex is a mathematical model of a city which, like a real city, is affected by the decisions of its managers. Within Apex are submodels of a downtown with businesses, population, and the vulnerabilities of an urban center. Suburban sprawl, lakes and rivers, including measurements of water quality. Industries, including measurements of pollution and air quality. Measurements of systems to fight pollution and clean up the water. Also contained within the computer is a map of Apex and the geographical layout of a county, suburbs, and core city. Inside the computer, the model city runs, and data from it provides the basis for a remarkable game. Richard McGinty of the University of Southern California is setting up a government for the city of Apex. It contains most of the important factions and departments through which decisions are made to run a city. Now, all McGinty needs to start Apex City running are the people to run it. These planners, students, and officials are gathered from all over the United States.
In the next couple of days, we're going to be simulating events that will be happening in typical American communities throughout the country over the next few years. Every day, for the next couple of days, will represent a year in the life of the community. You'll be pondering issues, arguing, taking stands, finally making decisions. These decisions are then processed, fed into the computer. The computer acts on these through a whole series of mathematical models, and eventually, next day when you come back, you'll be able to see the impact of your decisions, both on the community and on your role. You've all been given roles in this mythical community.
Your role in Apex will be that as the executive director of the Apex Council of Government.
My goodness.
The labor union representative. The solid waste manager.
In real life, I'm the president of the Environmental Quality Commission for the city of Los Angeles.
I'm an urban planner. I'm an environmentalist. I'm what you call a public health sanitarian, employed by the County of Los Angeles Health Department.
Behind the game are the game makers, mostly USC programmers, managers, and role advisors who have developed the game from a joint project started with the University of Michigan more than 10 years ago.
We've done our job before the game begins. We've set up the interactions correctly and built the roles properly and included all the data that's necessary. The players will take on that role-playing attitude and get into the game and begin behaviors and activities which are very real.
Put them in an artificial environment where they're not threatened, where the consequences of what they do are not disastrous, or they do the wrong thing, so they try things out.
For the players, the game begins with information from the IBM computer about Apex City and its problems. The computer also prints out a newspaper that will tell the players daily how their decisions are affecting almost everything within the city-county area.
I really don't think we should. I think maybe you may want to reallocate some of your resources.
At this point, they're beginning to look at the data in the printout. Things like the status of air pollution, the status of water quality.
We've got to get some figures on concrete batching. It's a simulated industry. Where is that?
Industrialists, land developers, and politicians each begin to work out their own problems. But one problem begins to dominate the others.
Our rivers are not acceptable for fishing or swimming. We have to concentrate in the next year or two on major improvements in our water quality. We must go from primary to secondary treatment.
The first day's decisions have not corrected the water problems, and the computer goes to work to calculate the effects of that on the community.
It takes approximately 1 year to do all that by hand. And through the use of the computer, we're able to see the results of all of those interactions and decisions and through our models in approximately, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 3 minutes of computer time.
Dirty water. Oh, no.
we're aware of the dirty water, and we want to fix this problem. And the main thing is that it's going to more or less cost my company like $6 million to implement a program to clean it. And so what I'm really looking for is probably some help from the government somewhere, either from the state, the county, or the federal.
The environmental constraints, if they try to push it on us too quickly, it's just going to kill us. It has to be spread out, or we're going to have a lot of economic chaos.
And we're not going to pay it. And we're going right now to get an injunction against it.
Well, fine, and we'll meet in court.
Many of the industrialists of the game are environmentalists in real life. But in the game, they find themselves battling for their industries against environmental demands they now see as unreasonable.
You're playing the role, and your emotions tend to get into it. Whereas you have to hope everybody gets level-headed and try to work it out.
When one young man was deposed from office, he was recalled. He was so involved in it that he went outside in the foyer and wept. You become involved with your role. You want to succeed in it. You want to do a good job. You want other people to view you as successful.
You've already wasted 4 years.
All right, but you can't ask us to do the impossible.
I think once you begin and we show you the possibilities and the federal funding and state funding that will help, I think it's possible to move fast.
We have 100 people making 100 kinds of decisions.
We've got to decide what we're going to do with our grant money.
You've got to get the information and the data quickly. You've got to get it in a short period of time. You've got to analyze it. You've got to understand it. You've got to figure out your decisions quickly.
To know exactly where you're going to put a hospital, an airport, a transportation system.
By afternoon of the second day, an even more fundamental problem has arisen, and the chairman of the Council of Governments suddenly calls for a halt in all activities but one.
Area of regional planning. The county is doing its own thing, the city is doing its own thing, and the suburban people are trying to do their thing. This simply cannot be allowed to continue. Regional planning is the only means by which proper 208 planning for cleaning up the water and providing a cleaner air can possibly be accomplished. Henceforth, no project grant will be approved by ACOG for forwarding to the federal government until we see an earnest on the part of the local jurisdiction to make an attempt at regional overall planning.
Madam Chairman, I was outraged to hear your remark that you will persist in denying permits for individual projects. I tell you, Madam, very shortly, the people of Apex County and our district in particular will get so hungry they'll eat the great seal of the Apex.
Outrage among the players whose projects await the Regional 208 plan is voiced on television by the airport manager.
No. Brought to a halt by lack of money? No. It's simply a matter that the environmental impact statement has not been approved.
But they keep on throwing curves to us, like the 208 plan is actually slowing things down. By delaying the federal grants to get the sewage treatment plant in.
It was submitted through the proper channels, and where is it?
What's emerging is that the feds are holding back on grants until plans are approved at the regional agency. And in many cases, this should be threatening to the city. I don't think the city is yet aware of the implications of this, of the power that's now going through the county Association of Governments.
The chairman of the Council of Governments is using all her power to get planning accomplished by all agencies, starting with zoning and land use and progressing to industrial and environmental plans for Metro Apex. This requires all players to go back to the computer data to examine their purposes and methods and how these can best be utilized in the future development of the Metro Apex area. Finally, the many plans are put into the computer, which will calculate not only the effects of each plan on all parts of the community, but also their interacting effects on each other.